And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review, and this is Irrelevant with Cosweasel. Now, I would shout out Cosweasel and say, what's up, but I have a feeling Irrelevant is going to need to bounce from this guild, and I'm sorry. I know that sounds horrible. A lot of people, get upset with me for giving that kind of advice, but I have to say that right now, Cosweasel really has very few active players and has no immediate future of doing heroic anything. And so they either need to get really, really active and involved in like Facebook and in recruiting, and they also need to get on the forums and recruit, and they also need to get on other places and recruit, or they probably should just be a really casual guild, and Irrelevant needs to go to a more active guild. What he wants is he wants Han Solo and he wants General Kenobi, and those things are just not going to happen in the guild that he's in. So he's got to make a tough decision, either help them recruit and grow the guild big enough that they can do that, or Irrelevant, in my private Discord chat, you can reach out to anybody, and there are a ton of really good heroic teams that are always looking for someone, and I think you have a lot to contribute to a team. Now, you stated you were a whale for a good period of time. You've played since the very beginning, but you've got an interesting story. You started 2 years ago, but then almost immediately quit the game until 6 months ago. And then 6 months ago, you hopped in and you were like, holy crap, you were on an ancient leaderboard. And an ancient leaderboard, there was no way you can compete in arena. Surprisingly, you are competing in arena. And then your ship shard, of course, because ships was a thing that you started 6 months ago when you jumped in, because it wasn't a thing 2 years ago. It started you in a new leaderboard for ships. And so look, there you go. With ships, you were serious, you took it serious, you farmed them, and you can take #1 every day. So this is where you're getting your crystals. Every single day. You're getting a good amount, probably 350 to 400 every day here, and then you're getting a parsley amount from this. This does give you a lot of crystals. If you save every single day, you should be able to buy one solid piece of gear about every 3 days from the store, which is a phenomenal strategy when you're trying to hard gear a specific character up, and there's like 5 or 6 key pieces that you're missing. This is going to help you get really pushed past that gear 9, 10, and 11 that a lot of people struggle with. But you did claim you were a whale early on when you first started 6 months ago. You kind of took off out of the gates, spent a lot of money to kind of get that boost. That's not a bad idea if you like a game and want to invest into it, to dump a little bit of money right up front to give yourself a boost, give yourself a head start, if you will, and then you can kind of maintain that head start. Now, you do say that you stop spending money, and I know that that's kind of a trend that's happening in this game. What's happening is people start to spend money, they don't see a value, and then they stop spending, and you're now basically free to play. You don't spend any money anymore. So I'd classify you officially as a dolphin because you've made some investments over the lifetime of your gameplay. You are an ancient shard, so we're going to talk about your arena team, but there's no rush, no hurry. I'm just going to give you kind of an optimal team I think is going to work really well for the long term, and then you can develop them if you like my suggestions. We're also going to talk about ships because you're doing really well in ships. You said you have no heroic teams, but that's also because your guild can't do it, and you asked, should you go into a new guild? If you know that your guild is not going to actively recruit, then yes, you need to go to a new guild, and again, hit my Discord chat up so that way we can get you a new and better team. And then your first Zeta, you've got a first Zeta and you want to know who, we're going to talk about that as well. So we've talked about the guild situation. Let's go into arena. The very first character that I am going to suggest as the lead is your brand new shiny Commander Luke Skywalker. You've got him at gear 8, and his abilities are just starting to get fleshed out. And so this guy is going to be, and has been, meta. He's been meta for over 5 months, and he's going to continue to be meta. He's in the right team comp. He's just as good as the new Rey that's out. I know a lot of people are on the Rey train. I am too. And so, you get caught up in the videos and things like that, but you got to slow down and go, listen, you're not in the top 50 or the top 20. You can do pretty much whatever you want as long as you're using good characters. So I would make him your leader. This is going to be a team that plays out really well for even the next year. Of course, you got to have his trusty sidekick R2-D2, and R2-D2 is gear 9. You're going to want to continue to develop him up to gear hopefully gear 11 or gear 12, but you really for arena want to get to at least gear 10 on all your characters, so that way you can, you know, get higher up in the leaderboard. You're in the top 300, which for an ancient leaderboard, that's pretty amazing, especially for the characters you have and how high that they're geared up. You must have a kind of inactive leaderboard, which means there's hope for you to get into the top 100. So CLS R2D2, and then your third in line is Grand Admiral Thrawn, and so you definitely want to use Grand Admiral Thrawn. He brings control, just like CLS. Now the cool thing with CLS and Thrawn is one can do buff immunity, the other can fracture. So any team that you go against, no matter whether they have 1 tank, 2 tank, it doesn't matter. You're going to be able to get through those tanks, nullify them, and be able to target whoever it is that you want to target. You will, though, need to protect your team with a tank, and the only tank I see that's really viable in the top 3 rows is Old Ben. Now, Old Ben, you will not regret leveling him up and gearing him up. He is one of the best light side tanks in the game, in my opinion. I use him all the time in Arena, all the time. Love the guy. And so you want to get him up, but you have him at gear 8, and that's really gear 8 for Arena, especially on a 2-year-old ancient leaderboard, is not viable whatsoever. So you're definitely going to want to get Old Ben up higher than gear 8. Get him up to gear 10 or 11 as best you can. Now, all your energy should go into your pilots first, because you're doing better in ships, and then your arena team second. Traditionally, I tell people put all your energy into arena and then ships second, pilots second. But with you, because you're actually gaining 400 potential crystals every single day from the ship's arena, your pilots need to be your first priority, and then your second priority is going to be main arena. So this is going to be on your secondary list of things you need to focus on. But now that we have CLS, R2D2, Old Ben, and Thrawn, the next one I would suggest for your team, I know it sounds weird to have CLS, R2D2, Thrawn, and Old Ben, and then have Mother Talzin, but Mother Talzin, you came in at a unique time a few months ago. They had the Night Sisters rework, and Mother Talzin came into the place, and I can tell you there are a lot of people that run Mother Talzin by herself with her unique Zedud, and she runs under, you know, with CLS, R2D2, Thrawn, Old Ben, and that team works very, very well. See, CLS does a lot of damage. Thrawn on his basic can do a decent amount of damage, and Mother Talzin goes straight for health. Mother Talzin's also very tanky. She's got a lot of health and even more protection, and so she's very difficult for people to kill. And if you can make her fast, you've got CLS that they've got to worry about. R2D2 is stealthing her, you know, often, and so now they got to worry about killing R2D2. But then you got Old Ben taunting, and then they got to get through Old Ben, and then you've got Thrawn fracturing whoever it is that they're trying to use to kill Old Ben. Again, this is a very, very good team, and you have Mother Talzin basically as high as your arena team, 5-star gear 7. Your Old Ben's only gear 8. So Mother Talzin would definitely be the individual that I would bring into this team to really throw a wrench into what you're facing, and I think it's going to do very, very well. So gear up your Commander Luke Skywalker, R2D2, Thrawn, Old Ben, and Mother Talzin. Now, you have time. Like I said, you are on an ancient shard, so you don't have to worry about making these guys like super high priority. You don't have to spend a ton of money. I know you went free to play, so just develop them as fast as you can in the time you can, but use your crystals wisely. Only do a few refreshes on gear per day, and then spend the rest of the crystals by saving them and then buying a specific piece of gear out of the store that you're having a very difficult time actually acquiring. Don't do things like Carbantes, because you can get those for free. Every week you'll earn about 1 Carbante or so through the shipments and through the events that they have. So I really think the team that I just suggested is going to do far better than this team you're currently using once you get them up. And you asked about kind of your first Zeta, and I would really suggest R2D2's Number Crunch. You can't go wrong with that. There's nobody on Earth that's put their, you know, Number Crunch Zeta on and said, hey, that sucked. I wish I wouldn't have done that. I've not heard that yet once. And I talked to, you know, 50,000 people in a particular chat room that all would suggest the same thing. So definitely your first one should go to Numbers Crunch. Some of them to consider on this new team. CLS, obviously, he's got 3 Zetas you could consider. R2 has two Zetas, numbers crunch being the number one most important. Thrawn has a unique. Old Ben has a taunt and a unique. The taunt would be the more important of the two. And Mother Talzin has a leadership and unique. Only the unique would be something to consider. But really, the most important would be R2-D2's number crunch and then Old Ben's taunt, because that way he can taunt through a fracture. So pretty cool. And then we're going to talk also, since we talked about your first Zeta, we're going to talk about ships. And you're doing very well. You're actually doing awesome. And you are using a phenomenal lineup. You're using basically 3 target lock ships with a tank that is designed for target lock teams. And you're using Jedi Consular. Now, what's cool about Jedi Consular in this lineup, and I know why you're using him, he calls an assist. And he's going to call someone that target locks. So he, in essence, can target lock on his special, because as long as he's with other target lock people, he has that attempt of target locking by calling an assist. So he's a good tanky ship that calls an assist, and then he's just really hard. You know, he's a tankier ship. So that's good, but for the long term, you're going to want to replace him with the TIE Reaper. The TIE Reaper will give you the edge over everyone in your top 5 if they don't have it developed. I promise you that. And this guy is not too difficult to get to 4 stars. I used him at 3 stars even in my leaderboard, and it worked wonders even at 3 stars. He was easier to kill at 3 versus 4, so yeah, you definitely want to farm it up, but you're going to have to develop your pilots. These 2 pilots you have, the star level isn't what I'm concerned about as much as the gear level. You got to get the gear level up for their abilities to the left to actually be able to be leveled up. So you're going to want to spend time both on the ship and the pilots. You understand ships and their importance, and I'm telling you, this is a game changer. Once you have it, you'll see what I'm talking about. But it will give you the guaranteed win every single time, and it will make your team extremely difficult for them to beat on defense. In the backup, I would use the Scimitar. The Scimitar is a great ship to come in and create stealth on everybody else, so it makes it hard for them. They're trying to apply their will on defense, and it makes it much more difficult to apply their will when everybody's stealthed and they can't hit the person they were trying to kill. Also, Slave 1 comes in, does a bunch of AoE damage. It's got 2 different AoEs, plus has target lock on basic. And of course, Jedi Consular is still a great ship in one of your best, and so I would definitely keep using him, but I would just put him in the last of the 3 slots. In your backup, I would do the Scimitar, Slave 1, and then Jedi Consular, and then remember putting in the TIE Reaper. But don't move anything yet until you get the TIE Reaper developed. And right now at 3 stars, that's fine. The ship's fine, but you're going to have to get the 2 pilots up to at least gear level 9, and then throw that thing in and watch the magic happen. So for ships, you're doing awesome. Get the TIE Reaper in there, gear those pilots up, and focus, of course, on your pilots. As far as main arena, your team now that you're using is fine, but you're going to want to switch over to CLS lead with R2-D2. Zeta that numbers crunch first. Thrawn, Old Ben, and Mother Talzin. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a great team. As far as speeds, you really want R2-D2 to be the fastest one on the team as possible. And then Thrawn needs to be the second fastest. So if you don't have a lot of speed, and you probably don't, you want to definitely put all your best speed onto R2-D2 and Thrawn, with R2-D2 being the fastest, so he can get everybody under stealth as fast as possible. You have time on main arena because, again, you're not really competing with a whole lot of people, and you're just doing what you do. It's really ships arena that you're hyper competitive in, and so this gives you time to kind of focus on this team that I've suggested. And then as far as Kaz Weasel, your guild, they either need to kick it into overdrive and start recruiting, or they're just playing casual and you need to move on from the casual guild to a more active guild so you can in fact get the heroic AAT and get your Han Solo. I know you don't have Han Solo or General Kenobi and you are desperately wanting it, and that was the push I used to go to Team Instinct, was because I couldn't get either as well. So I hope this helps out. If anyone has any questions, leave them in the comments down below, and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.